Hello, so in this video, I'd like to talk to those of you who may have found this video because you yourself feel that you are unique in terms of your sexuality, your way of expressing, your gender, the wide mix of variables that come into gender and sexuality um, as a whole and how we express that. So if like me, that's something that's caused you a lot of stress, maybe there's something that I can offer here as someone that I think has come through those stressful moments. Firstly, what I've learned, I think, is that whilst it was very hard early on, because when you're trying to inquire and understand, even define your sexuality, really just articulate what it is, which is by no means straightforward. Um, it's very confusing. It's very frustrating. There is that enormous pressure. Um, and you can feel really lost in this, even desperate to the point of, in some cases, sadly, people feeling they need to take their own lives. But the one thing I learned is through persevering and self-inquiry that answers will come. And that really does begin to be very, very helpful as you start to get an understanding of yourself and you start to grow. So this sort of opportunity, as it were, for personal growth. As someone that has a religious faith, I see that as spiritual growth, but you may see it around your own self-development and coming to a sharpened self-awareness, something to some extent that a lot of people never actually arrive at because they're not put in a position where they are confused. There probably is a lot more support available than you think. If, like me, you struggle to define who you are, your strangeness, and you do not find forums and websites that directly address that, there are lots that will cover aspects of it. So I think it's a case of finding those that are pretty reliable. One I thoroughly recommend, as regular viewers to this channel will know, is the Cross Stream Life Forum, which is very respectful and always covers questions and points of view. I find it a very respectful way. I would say also that I think uniqueness, or something that's very rare at least, can be a gift, even if this isn't obvious to you. I'm kind of now discovering this. It's still evolving and revealing itself to me, but there can be something that isn't seen at the moment, that an opportunity to use your uniqueness. I think for me, it has something to do with a kind of bringing together of masculine and feminine energies into a ministry, into service for others. But that I offer that in different ways, but among which are within the trans community. But that's just one example of where this kind of experience can be, rather than a curse, as it were, a blessing. The scope of trans variety is much broader than is often realized. I've put together a number of videos on that. There may well be others, lone voices and those who are silent, particularly, whose sexuality is strange, abnormal, even by trans standards, and many who remain silent, as I say. The loudest and the more common dialogues that you find online, the ways of being, so it might be as a cross-dresser or cross-streamer, as someone born intersex who struggles with gender dysphoria, has been perhaps forced into a particular way of being socialized, which they don't feel comfortable with, or as a trans man or trans woman, either pre or post-op, don't alone account for this breadth of lived experience under the very broad trans umbrella. And I realized that advice that I might have been given earlier could have led me down the wrong path, particularly when I hadn't got to that point of properly defining my sexuality, partly because then there can be a tendency, if not for a one-size-fits-all approach, but to assume that someone who has gender dysphoria isn't fluid in that, or it may not change, or it's taken as a strong reason for embarking on the path of transition. So I'm not convinced that's always going to be the right way forward. So if you are considering that, I'm sure you will, really having some very serious discussions with people you can rely on, counselors and so on, but also a lot of self-inquiry before going down that road. There may be learnings and warnings here for others who felt like I did. For example, when I was 14 or 16, long before my understanding of self had unraveled. And as I say, at a point when I was still feeling very confused and beginning to realize that I didn't even seem to fit in with the sense of normality under the trans umbrella or on the gender spectrum. I am at the moment beginning to scratch my head about whether I can do something in this area to try and offer some help, some advice, some videos perhaps on this channel. I just offer my thoughts and do the best I can. Maybe a start with that. Maybe I'll try and see if I can put together a website at some point. For those who feel strange, that they feel that their sexuality or their gender nature is very unusual, very abnormal, and exploring the broader aspects of why our sexuality matters, the purpose it may play in our lives, including, as I say, what may be opportunities or even gifts that we don't yet recognize, actually how we might celebrate and put those to good use. So coping with the sense of being alone and general guidance around dealing with the wariness and other reactions of others who may become aware of your sexuality may also be a part of this kind of some of the videos, or if I do get to put a website together. That's just ideas that are forming at the moment. So do watch this space. And do reach out to me if you really do feel at a loose end. Details on how to contact me you'll find through my channel. Bless you. Take care.